Welcome to the AI Revolution Call. I'm Cody Willard. That's Bryce Smith. It's John DeOliveira. In the virtual green room, while we were getting ready to hop on this call, I was unloading on how bad Windows is to this day. Every time I try to get on a Zoom call with Bryce in the morning to go over the portfolio or something, his speakers are his microphone are his speakers, even though he has it set to default opposite. Today, for the first time ever, I was like, oh, I'll hop on my Windows computer so you can look at the portfolio with me, Bryce. I'll share my screen. It says my fancy speakers are the default. No, you know what? It was going through the $2 speaker inside my mini computer, my mini Windows computer that I just got about a month ago. And as John just said, it's like it's 1995 technology, but it's 2025. Yeah. Windows is the worst. Full disclosure, we are short Microsoft, not because it's Windows is the worst, but because its AI strategy is the worst. Yeah. So this is germane to the call. John, you were just about to finish the pitching.
Yeah, I was just going to say, by comparison, I think it might have been the late 90s. I think it was the early 2000s that the Macintosh operating system switched over to where the kind of underlying Unix of it is just totally the way it works, So if you open a terminal window, it's in Linux essentially, and it's the Mac OS that was part of the Next computer is what made its way into the Mac. But it's like this is great for a developer. The Mac is. And the Windows machine, you're still like, oh, I think I'll open a terminal emulator in order to do. It's like, what are you talking about?
Literally, John, I bought an Alienware computer, Windows-based, for my golf simulator room over there about 2 years ago because I needed the best of the best. I bet I spent $3,000 on a desktop computer. That's not nothing for a desktop computer. That's got to be like not necessarily top line, but it's up.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That freaking piece of junk. Every time I go to turn on the simulator, it's like can't find drive. Reboot. Would you like to reboot?
Yeah. So to broaden this and connect it to what we would maybe talk about is, who are these tech companies that are carrying a lot of baggage, and how does it affect what they do going forward? Because there are others of them as well, but especially Microsoft. That when you start to say, are we going to do the platform play or the application play or so forth, and you're like, well, who's in there, and how do we trust them to make it to the next stage without getting dragged down by what they have?
Yeah, and so let's segue this to then the AI revolution, which is actually what the call is all about. So for the reason we're short Microsoft is because they still have it's not that the convolutedness of the operating system booting up is the problem, but it is the fact that they are sitting here partnering with OpenAI to become like co-pilot on your computer and to do the application layer of the AI revolution. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is rolling out their own agents and applications competing against Copilot right here, right now. Yeah. Meanwhile, Microsoft is spending tens of billions, literally up to $80 billion, making ChatGPT work so far. And Microsoft does not have its own finished LLM product. Bryce, take it away, my friend.
So I want Cody to be able to take a lap because we give him a hard time on here more than we give him credit. And so this was a Ask Me Anything that the team at OpenAI did, right? And this is Almighty Altman. He says, in response to a question about whether they would release some of their model weights, he says, yes, we're discussing. I personally think we've been on the wrong side of history here, and we need to figure out how to open source everything.
Wait, is that a new message?
Yeah, I don't know why it says 1 month ago.
No, that's 1 minute ago, Bryce.
Yeah, 1 minute,
ago.
Oh, like that's a really new message.
That's like today.
Yeah, not. That's it's a screenshot of a message.
Right, but it's a DeepSeek reaction.
January 31st.
It's a DeepSeek reaction, right?
4 days ago.
It's a DeepSeek reaction.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a DeepSeek reaction.
And so exactly that like Microsoft has set has come into the OpenAI universe and, I don't know, partnered up, conspired with OpenAI to close what was Elon Musk's and Sam Altman's original vision for an open source, completely transparent AI platform. And now Microsoft owns, some amount of a company that's $160 billion market cap and negotiating right now to sell more shares at $350 billion market cap. Anybody else think that Sam Altman's a little too aggressive trying to sell shares in OpenAI right now? I mean, granted, he's playing the valuation every time.
His timing might not be great, but I guess the proof will be in the proof, or the proper way to say the saying is the proof of the pudding is in the eating of it. So it doesn't sound as good, but that's the real way the saying is said.
But John, you're going to have to give us what's the...
the proof is in the pudding means, well, we're going to see what actually happens. If they go and...
where's the etymology? I didn't know that the actual phrase was,
yes,
proof is in the eating of the pudding.
Yes, and by pudding, we don't mean like Jell-O kind of stuff. Pudding means dessert in British. So it's a British saying, just means the proof of the dessert is in the eating of it. Is that dessert good? We'll find out when we eat it.
Yeah, it might look amazing, but until you eat it, it's not.
Or might look terrible.
Bryce, on the other hand of giving myself credit, I'm going to just acknowledge, man, Palantir, again, raising guidance, blowing the top off the dome. I mean, these guys are executing. It's clear that they have an application layer that is in demand right now, and they don't even have a sales force. I didn't know that. I'm watching in CNBC right now. They don't even have a sales force. And they're sitting there raising guidance and going to do $3.7 billion of sales this year.
That's one of the few I did give my opinion on as well, even though I don't know crap. I was agreeing on that. He said, so go to the videotape. They're just knowing, having looked at what they do and having worked in that kind of stuff, is like there's not many doing it. Providing the.
Did you reach out to Palantir asking them if we can set up a meeting? Did they write back?
Yeah, they just responded and said they'd reach out and be in touch, and I haven't heard anything.
So Bryce and I realized, why not just ask Palantir if they'd give us like a 1-month trial of how their software could improve our hedge fund?
Or
on their website, they actually have like some examples of funds using their stuff. So there is a chance that like they actually have a product we could use. So I think it's kind of exciting. But to Carp's point of always talking about unprecedented demand, I've submitted 2 requests for a demo, and finally they wrote back and said we'll be in touch. So like maybe they really do have so much demand they can't get back to everybody.
Yeah, but also to get on their radar, we should get our own stuff to where they're interested in talking. So to that note, everybody please like and subscribe.
I have videos of my daughter Lincoln, who's now 11, but at like 3 years old, we never published them, but she would film herself maybe at 4 or 5 on my phone, and at the end she'd be like, "Make sure yourself to subscribe and like my video." And oh man, she'd heard it apparently, on like product reviews from the kids doing toy things. Andy Schroepfer says, go Cody, I'm good for my $80 billion quote will be remembered as being maldirected. That is the CEO of Microsoft.
Microsoft said, yeah, he's like, I'm good for my 80 billion.
Yeah, he looked like a jilted girlfriend during that interview whose feelings were hurt, and he just didn't want to badmouth his ex-boyfriend, OpenAI, and he was like, I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm good for my 80 billion.
Yeah, me too, though. I got to say, I'm good for my 80 billion.
80 billion Doge tokens.
Right. So
someday $1 trillion divided by $2.18 billion shares is $438 per share. Are we talking about if OpenAI were $1 trillion, it would be at 438, or is that the equivalent of Microsoft? I'm not sure what he's getting at. Bryce, do you know?
I think he's talking about Palantir.
Oh, Palantir. Oh, all right. Yeah. So Palantir at $1 trillion would be 438 per share, which, by the way, is only a 4-fold increase from where it's at right now. And it just went up 10-fold since Bryce and I bought it at 8. We sold it at 12.
No, I think we had a double, didn't we?
Okay. We sold it at 60. Whatever it is, Bryce.
Okay.
Bryce, quick question. Side note, John. Bryce, most painful sell of your hedge fund career so far. Yeah, by the way, Andy confirms it is Palantir we're talking about. Most painful trade of your hedge fund career so far, Bryce. I give you 4 options. Number 1, buying SMR at 10, selling it at 3, selling Rocket Lab at 4 something before it went to 30, selling Spotify at whatever you sold it at in your personal account and it tripling or quadrupling, or in my mind, the Palantir trade is the most painful because we owned it at 8, caught a double on it and sold it. Which of those 4 is the most painful trade of your career, Bryce?
The most painful was the SMR.
SMR.
Like,
I knew you would say that.
Puke over that one, and we would have made more money on Palantir than probably SMR.
Bryce, side note, that's
emotionally, psychologically, SMR was
and emotionally, psychologically, it's actually a good trait that you have more pain about losing money than the regret of not making a lot of money. And most hedge fund managers, it's the opposite. It is like a 3 to 4 1. Like it's 3 times more painful to miss out on a 10 bagger than it is to lose 70%, 90%.
Yeah.
So how, what's Palantir at now?
95 hours after out, $95 after hours.
95. So wait, you got in at 8, out at 16, and it's at 95, and it's not your most painful?
No, the losing money on SMR was more painful.
Yeah.
And by the way, I used to have I had a show on Fox for 528 episodes. And every week I would pitch my producers on, hey, bring on a hedge fund manager. I want to interview him about the worst trade of his career. I don't want to talk about his winners. I don't want to talk about like, oh, I'm so smart. I don't care what. I want, like, all of us have had horrible, painful trades. And I just want to talk about it. And I give Bryce a lot of credit for opening up and just talking that through a little bit, Bryce.
I got in MicroStrategy in 1999, right before the crash.
And it's probably higher than that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not that much higher, by the way.
But I don't, it's non-existent in my whatever, but yeah.
We've made a lot of money shorting MicroStrategy calls off and on for the last year.
Well, I'll just go to the quote that Cody always tells me.
Bitcoin, if you want MicroStrategy, but yeah.
Stanley Druckenmiller always says he's surprised he ever made any money. He's a hedge fund manager.
He was one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Despite all the mistakes he made, he somehow figured out how to make money. And so
he's always like, I'm always amazed I made any money knowing all the mistakes I made in my career. And that's a good quote. All right. Scott R wants to know, what do you think about CrowdStrike? This is the AI revolution, not the cybersecurity revolution call. So I'm sorry, Scott, we will not answer that question. No, I'm just kidding.
CrowdStrike is the AI native, cloud native cybersecurity platform.
There you go. We're long CrowdStrike. We bought it after like last year when it crashed because of the outage that it caused at American Airlines and everywhere else around the world, and the stock
also a Microsoft problem.
Demolished. And what?
It was also a Microsoft issue tied to Microsoft. So
we're long CrowdStrike. We're short Microsoft. We are not buying CrowdStrike right now. Feet to fire. I'd probably trim it before I'd buy it right now. But if you don't own any, it's the best of the best in the cybersecurity industry. And it is an AI, it will benefit. It's a beneficiary of the AI revolution because there will be increasingly more cybersecurity needed as the AI revolution continues to happen. Let's talk about, last week we hit on DeepSeek. And by the way, I think our call was a lot of feedback. People liked the call, learned something from us. I think we were rational in the face of that. It was last Monday when the markets absolutely panicked about all of that AI revolution, DeepSeek stuff that changed sort of the algorithmic efficiency of the AI revolution. And I think we were rational and not panicky, and we talked it through, and I think we had some good feedback on all of that. That's great. Meanwhile, clearly the AI revolution is still front and center in everybody's mind. DeepSeek is still front and center in everybody's mind. Take it away, John.
Just going to say, I think some new facts came to light that vindicate last week's kind of position or attitude toward it. For example, now being kind of widely said that they had 50,000 processors to work with,
which we said on the call on Monday.
So like now we said it as like they must, and now it turns out, well, like they do, So, and that makes a difference because the whole talk of it being some radically different thing they've come up with, that whether or not their resulting model was even with O1 or almost O1, it's like if they can do it on a shoestring, then we're the ones behind the 8 ball, and it's just not true. It's maybe. Yeah.
And John, beyond that, I think the most important thing that we hit on last week, and I will stand by it all the time, is that, look, if you're looking at the snapshot of what the AI revolution is delivering to you and or even the most advanced use case like a Palantir in a corporation or the military or something, if you're looking at that right now and thinking that that is the end game, or even like what's going to be happening over the AI revolution over the next 3 to 5 years, you're missing the entire revolution. And I call it the dial-up internet phase of the AI revolution, because the best we're doing right now is like 56 kilobit per second trying to download. And who's that tennis player I met? Anna Kournikova pictures in 1996 on AOL. That type of stuff is where we are right now. What you think AI revolution is going to deliver to the world, and the applications and the services and the efficiencies and productivity gains that it will bring into the system, you're missing the number one, how quickly it's going to happen, because Kurzweilian acceleration drives innovation more quickly. And you're seeing the AI revolution play out with LLMs commoditized in a year, and then DeepSeek happening 18 months into it. And like all this stuff is happening much more quickly than the internet revolution happened. And the point I'm trying to get to is what we're getting to is where agents will work with agents, and it will be layers upon layers of AI technology that are looking at your screen for you and doing productivity things in the back of this cloud and delivering it into your virtual reality glasses in another 5 years. I mean, what you think, like, we're going to do supply chain management a little better, and customer service doesn't need India-based call centers anymore. That's the thinnest layer of the AI croissant. Oh, I like that. I'm so proud of what I just said.
The AI croissant.
You got a couple comments here, Cody.
Palantir! Oh, Palantir! Palantir! Congratulations, Defini. 528 episodes. He's talking about my what was my show called? Happy Hour at the Bull and Bear Bar. He saw some of them. I'm assuming Andy is a man. It could be like short for Andrea, but and they could identify otherwise. Anyway, so let's just call it they, he, she. Saw some of them, and I knew you had a similar eye. Do you see the same setting up in HIMS? What's one of yours from small caps? Remember Rackspace, RXT, even Peloton back. I'm not sure what he's getting at with some of the last parts of that. I don't remember Rackspace needing Apollo to kick debt to equity, or the Peloton back to Einhorn's call at 30. I do know Peloton, of course, and I do know Rackspace. I will answer your question. HIMS, no, I'm not a believer in HIMS. I think it's actually a cool idea. It's HIMS and hers, and you can go buy your Rogaine or your erectile dysfunction drugs, somewhat tailorized for yourself, or you can go get some GLP diet drugs and stuff specialized for you a little bit. And it's a good idea, but I worry always, like Amazon sort of is the 800-pound gorilla.
Can you get your razors? Because that's what it sounds like. Can you get your razors?
No.
It sounds like Dollar Shave Club for
no, it's hims and hers, John. It's
I know what it is. I know
drugs
yes, I know what the company is. I'm talking about the way that they're just being, we're direct on this thing as if
okay, sure. So but like Harry's worked, but it got bought by Target for a minute fraction of what Hims is multiple is right now. I'm not a fan of Hims. I'm not in it. Peace and love. Good luck with it if you're in it. Goldman Sachs analyst at the time in Schroepfer. Sweet. Nice, Andy. Nice to meet you. He's saying he was a Goldman Sachs analyst when I used to spew my bullshit on TV. I'll follow up direct. Glad I caught your podcast in. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here, Andy. So, Bryce, tell them about the AI company that I made you hop on a show me call on Friday, germane to the topic here of me having been on TV. I no longer have to show up for this AI call. Explain why.
So, there's a company we found called Delphi. Cody found it. Delphi AI. I could show the website or something if we want, but I hopped on this Zoom call where they were showing some of the capabilities. And the idea is that you are going to build a digital clone of yourself. So if you're a writer, you have a TV personality, a book author, or anything like that, where you have a sufficient amount of content, you take all that content and upload it into your mind. They call it your mind, and build a digital clone, which is something like we kind of already did with ChatGPT and built a custom Cody GPT.
We call it a digital twin.
Yeah. So it's a digital twin of literally a person. And, but now it's going to go beyond just text. They can, if you record like 8 minutes worth of video, you can train your Delphi on the video, plus have all your content, text content, and then you can send it into Zoom meetings. We could have it in here with us right now, and it would look like Cody and respond like Cody and have his mannerisms and everything. So,
I don't think he can respond like Cody. I mean, he can respond probably like 99% of the people out there, but he's kind of unique.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's nice, John. But no, we've talked before about the fact that we uploaded 15 years or something worth of my writings and analysis and published articles on tradingwithcody.com and MarketWatch and elsewhere. And all of my books I've written available on Amazon, shameless plug, into a Cody GPT. And by the way, it is available if you're a subscriber at OpenAI. Actually, I think they opened it up so anyone, you don't have to be a subscriber. Look up Cody GPT on OpenAI, search for GPTs, and you'll find it. And it would be sort of cool to try maybe next week, Bryce. Let's have the Cody Delphi AI bot join this call. I'll join it too, but I'll mostly keep my mouth shut except to be pithy or smart alecky or otherwise talk shit to the AI Cody.
Yeah. Well,
that's if you
I'm
guys
write it down so we don't forget to train your GPT while I'm there this week.
So, there you go.
Your Delphi, not your GPT.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it's Delphi or Delphi. I can't remember how they say it.
It's Delphi, I'm pretty sure. Right, John? There's actually an auto supply company spun out of General Motors decades ago called Delphi Auto Parts.
So there's about a ton of Codys on the GPTs. So we need something to.
I think it's the Cody Willard GPT, not just the Cody GPT.
Just search for the smartest Cody GPT.
But it did remind me watching the video of like what you talked about with the Kurzweil singularity stuff, where literally your mind merges with the digital mind, and then the founder's inspiration for making the company was like his grandfather passed away, and he was like a prolific writer or something, and he's like, man, if I could just upload everything he'd written and like had a video going, it would almost be like he's still here.
And Bryce, as you mentioned that, it reminds me. You recall we took like every publicly publicly available transcript and book from Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
We built a Milton Friedman GPT.
Right.
We did 2 or 3 non-Cody GPTs.
I see the Milton Friedman one. When I put in Cody Willard, I get the Ultimate Tesla GPT, Milton Friedman GPT, Stock Market Events That Mattered Simulator.
And
that's it.
No Cody GPT? Oh my God.
It's probably
this is
there.
what's so crazy. How the hell do people buy the right meme coin when they can't even find the right Cody GPT?
I'm gonna paste the link because
Bryce, you're telling me they can imitate that? Because I don't think so.
Yeah. You can share a GPT somehow.
Do a Cody rant. So
it says Cody Willard GPT.
Cody. Andy, don't confuse people, Andy.
No,
what do you got, Bryce?
GPT is nothing. Cody Willard comes up with those other 3.
All right, I'm grabbing it. I'm with Bryce. Hold on here. Log in.
I just like, what would be the content?
I'll share my screen as I'm doing it. You can see how I'm doing.
I just pasted the link for mine.
There you go. All right.
Revolution, is that part of it?
No, literally Cody Willard, Cody space Willard space GPT.
That gets me nothing.
Huh.
Where am I? Cody GPT. Where did I go? Sharing. There it is. All right, here we go. Continue with Google. CL Willard. All right, over here, Cody Willard GPT.
Well, you got it in your list.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You'd think there would be some way to search and find it.
If you go to Explore GPTs on the left.
Yeah, but that's because that's ours, Bryce.
Yeah, but then you can search.
All right. Cody Willard. See, I searched for it before, apparently.
Right
yeah,
there.
John, it's right there.
Yeah, well, it doesn't come when I just type Cody Willard.
Nah, you're fired, bro. You're totally fired.
Does it work for you?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm sharing my screen.
What did you type?
I typed in Cody Willard.
I could share my screen. I'm telling you, it's not coming up.
You know, Cody, when I do it on my end and search, it doesn't pop up either.
You guys both are fired.
It's because you have it already listed on the left or something.
Probably.
What I want to see is what is in the description of it.
All right. Let's go back here. Cody Willard.
Click on that.
How do I go back there?
Just make a new window.
About. Here you go. Investment insights with Cody's humor. No direct document citations.
Maybe it's not public for some reason, Cody.
Not enough ratings yet. No, I think we may. I don't know, Bryce. I mean, we did this literally like a year and a half ago. I mean, this was.
Yeah, and I remember it being accessible at some point. But I'm telling you,
I think we made it accessible only to subscribers. I don't think.
All right, what we'll do is we're going to unleash the Cody GPT on the world starting tonight. Bryce, you are in charge. You have
public, like fully public.
Make it fully public. Let's take over the world, man.
He's like, we're gonna do this. Bryce, go do this.
Pretty much how it goes, John.
Yeah.
I paid my dues. I already did all this shit. Oh man. All right. So are we? At any rate, AI, revolution, Palantir, agents, DeepSeek, it's all happening in real time. Nvidia, here's the real takeaway I think that we gave last week that I think I'll repeat right now, and we can sort of talk more through it if you guys want to, and that is more efficiency in AI is the best thing ever for the AI revolution, not a problem. It doesn't somehow make Nvidia's demand for Nvidia's next generation chips decline because suddenly it's more efficient. It makes what those chips are going to be doing, providing applications and services to you and corporations and not-for-profit organizations. Is there an AI church yet? And if not, why don't we create the...
So you always want to go create a religion. So anyway, there's a big leap you just made in what you said. You're like, you go, it's good for AI. And then you say, Nvidia stock will go up or be fine or whatever. It's like that, like those are the same thing. Like,
sort of are. No, Bryce, explain why that's the same thing.
Well, I've been saying this for a while that Nvidia, like I say, Nvidia is the AI revolution, right?
Yes, that.
And people think that like if Nvidia stops and AI keeps going or something, like no, if AI goes, Nvidia goes. That's how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think
the reason for that. It's not just I'm not just spewing that out there, but that like when you go back and look at all the models we have, it directly correlates with Nvidia's advances in the chips. And there's been advances in algorithms too, but like we get better chips from Nvidia, and then the models get better, and we get better chips, and the models get better, and that's basically what happens. That's what's going to keep
that
happening.
will go on forever, and there'll never be another chip maker that matters.
I don't know, John, it's a good, you're saying that funny, but it's actually a good discussion because look, you've got Amazon, Google, everyone's trying to design their own chips because they spend all of their waking time trying to figure out how not to spend $70,000 per GPU for Nvidia chips. It's too expensive. So this is the beauty of capitalism, is there's obvious motivation for the companies buying Nvidia chips to find an alternative supply to those chips. But as we keep working on this stuff, one of the truisms that we keep coming back to is the best training chips are going to be Nvidia, and that's not going away anytime for the next 3 to 5 years, if ever. And if that's the case, then what you need is demand for training ever better, smarter models. Well, you're going to need robots. You're going to need smarter robots. You're going to need better AI. You're going to need it to do ever more interesting things. You're going to need it to create 2-hour length movies customized to what you've told it to do. Then the second part is, and what DeepSeek freaked everybody out on, is inference. And that is just the day-to-day usage of the AI models that that you have already trained, that now you're using to make the movies or to make your company better or to do CRM for your company or whatever it is you personally.
Which is not what Nvidia is optimized for.
But John, what we confirmed last week with our Google and or other hyperscaler AI employees, team leaders, is that last year's Nvidia training chips are this year's best, most energy efficient inference chips.
And I would add that they're not sleeping, and they are going to do some more intentional optimization on the inference side. If that's not where if they were focused just on the training side, and then they see that the inference side becomes so important, it's like they'll just do that.
Yeah, and it does seem, this is Bryce and I bought Oracle 3 or 4 weeks ago, a month ago, something, on the idea that inference was becoming the shortage. There was a shortage of inference, and the cost per inference for ChatGPT and Gemini and everyone else was too high. And so when you see that DeepSeek has cracked a code to make inference costs drop by an order of magnitude or 2, well, that's great. We're going to have a lot more inferencing going on a lot more cheaply, and we're going to build more apps that can do it for free now.
And one thing I saw too last week that was interesting with these reasoning models now, John, and I don't know if we talked about this or not, but with the reasoning model, you're generating a ton of tokens in the background that you don't actually see, right? And then the AI.
Well, that's the inference. That's on the inference side.
That's the test time inference, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so as we're just now getting into reasoning models, and that's R1 from
they're very
but that inference.
Hungry.
Right, that's a lot of compute happening in the background to spit out. There's maybe 10x inferencing happening in the background you don't even see, and it's not output tokens.
I argue this, John. AMD is a better short still than Nvidia. We covered our short on AMD last week, full disclosure. But if you were going to pick one to sell, I'm keeping all my Nvidia shares and I'm shorting AMD.
What's the Intel story? I thought they would be the short.
Intel is already it's free.
It's already free.
The stock, they're like, take the stock and we will pay. It's basically oil at -$8 like it was at some point 4 years ago. Like, people will pay you to take Intel's still at $18, $19, but the market cap's $90 billion. Bryce, do not answer this question. John, as an AI non-hedge fund finance guy, can you answer how much market cap did Nvidia lose last Monday?
$600 billion.
That was a fantastic guess, Bryce.
I think it was right there. It was like 500, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 495, I think.
Yeah.
So that's also the equivalent to 4 Intels. Five Intels. That's 5 Intels. Little more than 5 Intels. Intel's $90 billion right now, Bryce.
Yeah, that's about right. It's just less than 100.
Like literally, Nvidia lost the equivalent of the market cap of 5 Intels in one trading session. So my point being, Intel's a little bit irrelevant at this point, and AMD might be heading that way. Like AMD needs Tesla to sell more cars because AMD is their infotainment chip, and they need PlayStation 5 to triple sales this year. That is not happening. So I might put the AMD short back on now that I just said all this out loud. Bryce, you're going to have to argue me out of that tomorrow if you don't want to do it. I bet he wants to do it.
What I like from Nvidia is their little box that competes with, I guess it looks like it does with, with the Mac Mini. It's just that little Apple TV size box.
Did it just come out like 3 months ago or 2 months ago? Right?
It got announced like last month, so I don't think you can really buy it yet. Maybe within by March.
It was at CES
I think you can buy it in March. But it's like, is it $1,200 or is it more?
I don't know.
It might be a little bit more.
Actually,
it's they keep saying it every time the stuff gets scaled up enough, but it's like a supercomputer in a box this big that you can basically run real models on it.
So, John, will you be buying that to do AI experimentation?
Well, yeah, except it's like I have to buy it myself.
That's actually my next question. Will your company buy it for you, or will you buy it because you have so much passion about AI anyway?
Yeah, my company is I'm on a Mac with an M1 chip, and they're gonna get me the M4 on a 16-inch because it has the most powerful that's available in the laptop, whatever. And with that and the right quantization, etc., you can get some LLMs running locally. Right now, I don't run LLMs locally. I run them in the cloud. But we go and, we spun up DeepSeek just to try some stuff out. And it took, I forget, 6 or 8 processors. It was the real DeepSeek. R1, is it? Or no, so they have you were talking about the one that is doing reasoning and is more.
That's R1, I thought.
R1, yeah, because then you have from it, they created the one that's distilled down.
R0.
Yeah.
John, can you give me when an LLM is a file with a bunch of weights, right? Which are just numbers, and you can download that file.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I
don't understand. If you could just help me understand, the very basics of downloading the LLM and putting it on your laptop someday.
Yeah. Well, so you've got your bunch of weights, but you also have your code, which is very small code. I mean, it could be 500 lines of code.
Okay.
If you're running, I haven't been doing this stuff directly like this, so I'm blanking on. I use it through the OpenAI API, which you use even for open source models. You still use the OpenAI API, but I'm thinking of PyTorch. If you have the code is using PyTorch, you have 500 lines of that, and the code is just taking your input and sending it through those
But
weights.
It's still using a cloud. You couldn't do it offline.
I'm using a cloud because doing it offline is a lot more work.
But Bryce's question being that, say you buy the Nvidia supercomputer.
Yeah, then I would load it locally.
You would download the LLM itself.
Yeah, the LLM, and I'm saying the LLM is weights and a piece of inferencing code. And inferencing code, think of what the transformer does, and it's ridiculous that it does this. It seems so inefficient. It's if you said like, what is the capital of France? Each token is going all the way through from beginning to end through all of the weights and getting like adjusting accordingly. And then is the capital of, and it's all going all the way through until it's then taking, at the end of it, it's like doing a completion. And the completion is it going and saying like, well, what would it say after? It's like it's saying, it's predicting what would occur, what tokens would occur after that. If I went out someplace in the web where I saw the Platonic version of that question, what is the capital of France? The next thing that would appear on the screen is Paris.
So,
and that's how it generates, is it's going and taking as if it's got a compression on everything that exists everywhere and saying that for its version of that compression, here's what it would expect would come up next.
So John, let me say it back to you, see if I understand it right, because I also heard Jensen kind of explain it. So like you have Meta Llama, 7 billion parameters, right? So there's 7 billion things in there, and then
weights.
And then if you say the word, that model compares the word Paris, I'm going to call a word a token, compares the word Paris to 7 billion other words in the model, right? And it weights Paris versus lion, Paris versus blah, blah, Paris versus France, very strong. Paris versus the color blue, maybe not so much, right? It does that for 7 billion things, and every word is also indexed like that to every other word in the 7 billion parameters.
If all you were doing was looking up embeddings, yes. But think of it, I mean, more typically would be like, if you had what is the capital of France or something, it's going and taking capital against everything out there and going against, with all the other ones, it goes capital and France. Those are the ones that are really the important words within what's out there, because they kind of connect the most. If I took the embeddings, if I took the vector that represents capital, which is this big string of numbers, that's just the fingerprint of that word, or you could think of it like the QR code, of that word. And then you took the QR code for France, capital for France. You get these ones that go and come back and go, oh, those are really similar to each other, and that makes them get that's what you call the attention mechanism. They get attended to more than the other ones, and it gets used to say that's where I got to go looking for my answer. What's close on those?
It's almost a summation of the vectors that point to that answer.
It's a ton of summations of vectors, and it's what Nvidia does. I mean, when Nvidia made game chips, they were doing sums of vectors. When they suddenly started doing AI, it was like, oh, look, our stuff does that. Sums of vectors. It's linear algebra. And so that done, So then
vectors. This is an important point. I'm glad we verbalized that out loud. John, the other thing that it makes me think of as you say that, hold on, I just want to write down sums of vectors.
And multiplying them. It's math. It's vector math. Yeah.
Also, what's
multiplying?
Products
of vectors. Sums and products of vectors. And that is
matrix exclamation points at the end of that phrase.
It's called matrix math. Matrix math is the deal.
But John, what you make me think of as you sort of describe that is truly, it's like, again, it makes me think we're in the dial-up phase of this efficiency that AI will eventually get to. Like, you're going to make it so it doesn't have to run through it. At some point, someone will create an algorithm that sort of cuts through the what is of the and then it just goes capital France, and those are the only two words it's going to run, and it's going to do it much. It's going to have sort of like a preset notion that the vectors are going to take me there. All of it's got to get more efficient on orders of magnitude. Correct?
Yeah, it's not necessarily going to get more efficient by ignoring the others. It might seem like it does, but it's just like, we don't have to worry about the fact that it's dealing with those others. There's research that goes on that says we're going to do this instead of token based, it's going to be concept based. And
isn't that part of what the DeepSeek breakthrough was that it was like multi-packet tokens. Instead of doing every token, you group tokens together, so that's more efficient.
And it remembers that it just grouped that token over there, and then it doesn't have to go do it from scratch when it goes to get the answer.
It's not just about efficiency, although efficiency is certainly important. It's about, and this is when I used to talk to you guys, you'd be like about like, data is everything. And I'd be like, well, algorithm's important too. On the algorithm side of it, there's stuff going on like where it inserts thought tokens in between all the word tokens, or in between every couple of them or whatever. And what that means is that it's kind of talking to itself about things. And as it gets a right answer, it can go, what were the thought tokens that were around when the right answer happened, as opposed to when the wrong answer happened? It was, that I was thinking about the right kind of thing. Now you get this whole chain of thought. You get this whole, like, what does it choose to do? If you've used the new model in ChatGPT with like O3 mini high, it gives you this narration. You can see it doesn't do it as a flash past you thing like it did with O1. It does it. It lists out the things that, and some people say it's BS, and this is their way of not showing you what's really happening. But it's interesting to look at for the kinds of things it is doing. And it's basically going, in order to do the thing you're asking for, I'm going to first check this and then that, and then double check this and see that this is right. And do
that's actually been an interesting development too in the last 2 to 3 weeks, hasn't it? That it showing its thought process actually helps it become more efficient in delivering you a more accurate answer.
It gets it smarter. I mean, it's not just more efficient. That's where I kind of separate efficient from smart. Like it gets you answers it wouldn't have even gotten before. It gets it like doing advanced math that
John, it's hard to separate. In that case, in some sense, the only reason it can get you the answers it couldn't get before is because it's more efficient, and therefore it can get smarter. But it's smarter.
I push back on that, because if it were just about efficiency, I could say, just let GPT-4o, run longer, and it by itself, that's not doing it. It's sort of the back and forth where it's for itself thinking through, and that's what the reasoning side of things is doing. And that's where we made. I mean, if you looked at some of the graphs for the leap that the model took, we set aside the DeepSeek for a minute and look at go from GPT-4 to O1 to O3, and how O3 can do math at the level of the best mathematicians in the world. It's in the top 50 mathematicians in the world.
You think it does math as well as I do?
No, that's why I said top 50, not top 10. But so
today,
it's like
today is just stroke Cody's ego day.
Yeah. So everybody knows
every day should be stroke Cody's ego.
So to get back on track from the distraction that is Cody, it's like, this is an incredible. This is not just it got more efficient at what it was doing. It's like a new way of thinking. And that's what we see that's why it stepped ahead into a new level. And late last year, people were starting to talk about his stuff. Remember, people were saying like, his stuff slowing down. It's because sort of the activity around it sort of started to seem like it was slowing down. And then bam, O1, and then bam, O3.
Wait a minute. Shit, I forgot my name would be there. No, I'm just kidding.
The distraction that is Cody strikes again.
That's funny. All right.
You know what I mean, though? You see what I'm saying? He's like, we're taking off again like this. Because
it does feel like we've had an acceleration again between the models themselves, the products. Like you have the operator now, which we barely even talked about last week, where it can go out and search the internet and do things on the internet for you. Now, like yesterday, OpenAI had a deep research assistant, which can write PhD level. I haven't, it's just beta, but it supposedly can write PhD level papers on research, and it will go out and work like you're talking about, John, for maybe a few hours and then write the paper.
30 minutes, it said in the release.
30 minutes. So there's a lot.
Yeah. So something like that. The research assistant is we talk about how, you have that layer that's Nvidia, and you're like, oh, stuff's going to happen. This or that might get commoditized. Will they do okay? Well, there's all that stuff. Then there's like the layer up from it, which is people who use that stuff. And OpenAI is a little bit vertically integrated, where they didn't make the absolute list, but they make the models. So you get the chips, then you get the models, then you got the applications on those models. They're both in the model layer and the application layer. And in the application layer, they're doing things like take our O3 and verticalize it, go and do the research thing, and do the whatever thing. And it's like, when Google first was, they start with a search engine and they're like, now we're doing maps, and now we're, like extending out into some of the.
Do you remember when Google, you could suddenly actually do math on Google even, and it would do the math for you? It's like 2003 or something, but yeah.
So
go ahead, Bryce.
That was a kind of a aha moment for me there, John. We've been saying that the models are going to get commoditized. It's basically happened if it's happening, if it's not happened. But could OpenAI then still have a viable business as any app company? And let's say OpenAI says, screw it, we're not even going to mess with the models anymore. We're going to use Llama, or we're going to use DeepSeek, and still have the ChatGPT app, the O1 reasoning model, the research assistant.
Yes.
That's a possibility. Yeah. I didn't even talk about that.
It's funny you say that, Bryce, because I've been having that aha moment for about 3 to 5 days over and over, where it reminds me of the app revolution, where like booking.com is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's a pure commodity. Like it's literally finding you your cheapest flight and hotel where you're going. You can go to 10 other companies and do it. But once you download that app and it gets to know you and you personalized it, they're not going to screw you.
Yeah.
You're comfortable that they're at least giving you a value.
So ChatGPT is already a step toward that. For they really do see it as a way. So they've got like the 3 pieces. They've got the API, the ChatGPT, I guess, and maybe the model is the third. But I'm not saying they're going to move away from doing models, but what you say could happen. The first thing I would say is there are analysts who think of OpenAI in terms of those thirds and what's the value of each piece of that business. And I think it probably is a really good thing to track. And secondly, they're in a very good position to be the ones to go, and they've shown that they're interested in doing. I think some of the people who left the company, they were really turned off by that, like the idea that OpenAI might be this application company and they wanted to be at the forefront. But finally, I'll say that might be the forefront. There might be some really, not just financially or industry wise, whatever, but from a research standpoint, it could be like, okay, models are the way they are. Maybe it's the way the agents interact.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Damn it. It's there's too many things going on in my head and I forgot what I was about to say.
This is a little bit related though. Can you talk about distillation, John, and what happened with DeepSeek, and that one model can learn from another model, and like let's say you have a decent model, you have a Llama, but like then you can distill from OpenAI things and make your model better, and that eventually all the Google's model will be distilling from OpenAI's model, will be distilling from DeepSeek, and all the frontier models are distilling from each other. And further enhancing the commoditization of all of it.
Yeah, this stuff is on the edge of my understanding what I work with, and I'll never kind of pretend to understand unless it makes Cody look bad. I don't know how this does that right now. So yes, that is going on. There it is again. Yeah. You better put that in some kind of a hotkey.
I'm going to take a screenshot.
Yeah. But there is definitely, like, if you looked at what even DeepSeek came out with when they showed the kind of data flow on producing the model, it showed the other models that they were kind of learning from as well. It goes, and then we took this open source one and did this with it and put it in along the path for it to go and make the next step. And then there was a thing recently with how few extra calls it took against a model like GPT-4 or something to go and make a smaller model suddenly like behave more intelligently. It kind of brought it on task, and it's kind of, in one sense, it has where it acts like the other half of the one that knows the answer, so that can provide the reward against when you're doing kind of reinforcement on what was said. Hey, I think the answer is this. It's like, no, it's not. I know better. And that happening down to it. And you can do that with such a small set of like a couple thousand or something interactions that it's interesting that, you have OpenAI talking about, hey, we think they stole our stuff. And everybody just laughs. Like,
I know. It is so ironic that OpenAI is like,
kettle what?
They took the stuff that we put on the internet and used it for free to make a product. Pot, kettle, black, anybody?
Right.
John, Bryce, last week you took our AI revolution call and asked Notebook LLM from Google to create a summary, 5-minute summary, 10-minute summary of it.
A little
Like the podcast or the text part.
The text.
I did both. Yeah, I did.
Correct.
Both.
You did both, and both times it hallucinated. It said we said things that we didn't say and whatnot.
I don't know. When at first I tried to copy and paste the transcript into like ChatGPT and Claude, and those were hallucinating really bad. But eventually, Notebook LM. It took a while after the transcript was made before Notebook LM would actually talk to the YouTube video. When I put it into YouTube, it took the YouTube URL and put it into Notebook LM. It didn't seem to hallucinate that much.
Okay. What I'd like for you to do is if you will do the same thing with this week's call, and if it creates any hallucinations and or you don't think it's good, let's send that out and we'll tweet it. If you follow us on Twitter, Trading with Cody on Twitter, or Cody Willard at Twitter, we'll tweet it and we'll put it, we'll take it out from behind the paywall. It would be interesting to ask Notebook LLM to summarize today's call in 800 words or less, which takes 5 minutes to read, and see if it does a good job of it. And if it doesn't, tell us why you didn't like it. Tell us, look, if you'll notice, this is what the problem was. And I think it'd be just as we continue to experiment with Delphi, with Gemini, with Anthropic, with ChatGPT, I find it fascinating when things work and when they don't still. And again, it reminds me of trying to download Michael Jordan wallpaper in 1997 on AOL.
I mean, I think what was fascinating, just even in last week's thing, is that copy and pasting the text didn't generate the output really I wanted. But using Notebook LM, which is a Google product, and it had a direct integration with YouTube, then it produced some really high quality content.
And therein again, there lies advantage for Gemini and YouTube and differentiation from the other LLMs. Can you guys read what it says on the screen real quick so it would go into?
I was going to say, yes, if that doesn't show up in the summary, the fact that Cody's the best, then it's not working well.
So you're saying Cody's the best. I'm saying
if it's not working for it to say.
I'm just curious whether or not Notebook LLM will acknowledge what it says here. That what? Bryce?
He's not going to say it. You can't make him say it.
SK says, yes, Cody is the best.
Yes, if Notebook LM is multimodal, then it might see that text on the screen.
I hope it can take that input.
Cody, I learned a different lesson from what you were saying about Gemini and so forth, and that is it's the power of vertical integration. So Google has
that's
those
what I was trying to say.
pieces.
Same. I think there's edge for having vertically integrated data and video and integration with even just how it can read it and watch it and things. And chat.
Is that right, John? If I don't know what LM, I don't know what if it's Gemini or some other LLM that's powering Notebook LM. But if it's a multimodal model, it can watch this video and actually understand it in native form without transcribing it into text.
If not now, soon.
Yeah, but it does transcribe it, and I mean it can take it native, but it's ultimately it's coming around to English. And yes, I do believe it's Gemini behind it. And yes, you guys, I'm sorry, I know you're long Google, whatever. I still have not come around, and everyone that I work with who works with AI models thinks Gemini's crap, and it's not on the level of some of the others that we work with.
Price by more Google.
It's
somebody believes in it. We'll take the other side. Do you guys know how long a 1 hour Fox Business happy hour from the Bull and Bear Bar show had full of actual content?
40 minutes.
Yeah, 42, 43. Do you know how long we've been talking today with no commercial breaks?
More than that.
An hour.
That is correct. Last words.
Oh, now I feel pressure. Oh,
okay, that's your last word, Bryce.
No.
There's one question. Do you want to ask the question? That would be a good way for John to end.
What's that, John? Bryce?
Question there.
Oh,
which is a simple one. Which AI model is your favorite, John? To you?
Great. Thank you, SK.
The workhorse is Llama 3.3. And I'm just waiting for it to incorporate some of what's been happening with some other things recently. I'm not as interested. I like the multimodal, but it's not what I'm really working with on a daily basis. I'm just working with the API from Llama 3.3.
SK, that was value add right there. That was a great question. I'm so glad you asked it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bryce, you want to add anything, or let's leave that as our end?
I think this. No,
The
I
question
actually
is, John, the question from SK now is, what about for coding?
I use OpenAI, and I use 4.0 if I know it's going to do well. But lately, I've gone up to 03 Mini, and even if it's only not what it's if it's only a little bit better and not what it's focused at, but actually on the coding side, I think it is. But yeah, 03 Mini is pretty strong. The only problem I have,
SK, what do you do for a living, by the way, as John's talking? Will you please put
the only problem I have with 03 Mini is I think it's still low on context length. I think maybe it's 32K or something. And I really want way bigger because I want to be able to load in a big chunk of my code base. And sysadmin, yeah. And like I want to be able to, so I've a couple times written code that goes and crawls over my code base in order to pull out the pieces that I can make context out of and like be a subset of it and like load that in because I want to say, hey, GPT, here's what my application looks like. It's actually, 250,000 lines of code, but here's the piece that matters. And then I talk it over with it. And instead of getting into like, hey, just go write this piece for me, whatever, I go and have a kind of architecture conversation about how to take it to the next level. And then I go get some coding from it.
That's fascinating and helpful. Andrew Schroepfer asks, with Palantir valued near Accenture in terms of market cap, how does that play out to you? I'm thinking about IBM's big consulting buy 20 plus years ago as a possible concept. Even Oracle could be in this conversation. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks for watching today, Andy. Look, the problem with Palantir, more than anything else, since we've been following it, has been its valuation. And again, we bought it at like 8 or 9, sold it at like 15, 16. Made a great trade, and it's now after hours at 102 now, and we are in pain in a FOMO kind of sense on that stuff. But the problem still is that Palantir after hours is trading at 60 times next year's sales estimate, 240 times earnings. Like, I mean, it's crazy. And so if the company would grow 50%, grow its top line 50% per year for the next 5 years, it's still trading at like, at that point, it would still be like 15 times sales at this valuation without the stock price going up at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm not chasing Palantir here. That's not my style. I've been wrong since I sold it at 16. And I guess I'll remain wrong if it's going to go to 150, 200, on to 400 from here.
I have a different question. Well, semi-related, I think. What do you think of Underreal as an AI company?
I don't know what Underreal is.
Anduril. I don't know what. I don't know.
Oh, Anduril.
Yeah. Anduril. Anduril.
Yeah. Look, Palmer Luckey's a genius. The guy created Meta, Oculus, and
yeah, you look what's going on. He's got a partnership with Palantir.
Right. Look, if I had to, if I could buy Palantir at its current valuation or Anduril at its current valuation, I would go with Anduril, not Palantir. But both are clearly at the forefront of the AI revolution, and they both seem to be executing very, very well, John. Bryce?
And Dural's big with drones as well, right? Like, so they've got physical and
yeah, and the thing that makes them different from like, Raytheon or somebody is all those ones are like consulting or contracting type companies that don't have any product, where Anduril is a product company. They go and they just make it, and they go, "Hey, what do you think of this? Would this be useful for you?" And then it goes out like that.
And I would just add, by the way, Bryce and I, in our hedge fund and in our at least in my personal kind, I think Bryce would agree with this. I don't like to underwrite military businesses. We own Starlink and SpaceX, which in some sense is that. We own, Apple, or Google, which does contracting with the NSA and things like that. So it's not like there's a distinct line where we won't cross it or something.
Yeah.
But in general, Anduril truly focuses on military applications.
Yeah, when it comes down to actual, I forget the word, but
defense contractor.
No, I meant things
military industrial complex.
I was looking for the word like kinetic, something like physically things change from it. It's not like bits flowing through wires. It's like blowing people up. So
okay, yeah. Regardless, I try not to underwrite pure military businesses, even as I give, by the way, if you're an active military member or a first responder, I do give Trading with Cody free to you while you're serving our country or your community. It's a $1,200, $1,300 a year value. As long as you're serving our country, I give it to you for free. I do support the military. God bless the USA and those people serving in the military. Thank you for doing that. As a financial guy, I don't necessarily want to try to make money off of that, which is why I give Trading with Cody for free to military subscribers. Also, people, target military subscribers and try to grift them. So I might be wrong about stuff along the way, but I'm at least just telling you my best and brightest ideas for trying to make money and take as few risks trying to do it along the way.
So next time, if there's not another topic, I'd like to talk more about about agents and what can go on with that.
Hey, great.
Bryce, make a note. We'll open it up. John, agents, go. 007 or who's the one that
Groovy Baby. Who's the guy who says Groovy Baby?
Austin Powers.
Oh yeah,
yes,
Austin Powers. 007, Austin Powers. Anyway, agents, peace and love, everybody. Thanks for being here. That's the AI revolution call for today.
I know that an hour is long, but Lex Friedman just did a 5-hour podcast about AI with semi-analysis and those.
Yeah, he's trying to stay relevant.
He is. He's doing his best. It's fleeting for, I think, his approach, Lex.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Peace and love. Bye.
See you guys.